Yo, 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 what's up? You guys had a good Thanksgiving? No, I did. I feel like I'm still full. Does anyone feel that way? Like I still cannot I don't catch up, I guess. Um yeah, and then of course back to work today. It's mind-boggling how many things the kids seem to forget within a week span, right? Like just totally forgot. Oh, we're supposed to meet for class today. Yeah, anyways. But it feels good to be back. Feels good to be rocking again. But yeah, we're a pretty good game tonight. We got Seattle versus the Eagles. And I know that we do have some questions about the Eagles quarterback situation, which we'll definitely talk about. But I think overall we should see a fairly. Is he for sure starting? Is it a for sure thing? I did not see that. Let me double check. Jalen Hurts. All right. I'm not seeing that he's for sure starting. That's what the local radio is saying. Wow. Okay. Because I'm not seeing it on Twitter. That's interesting. So until I see otherwise, I mean, they could be right. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Because I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, even Ian Rappaport's not saying anything. Yeah, I don't know. Could be right, could be wrong. I really don't know. But we're gonna talk about it like Wentz is starting, and then if we do get news that Hurt is definitely starting. Oh, well, let's talk about it though, because I think that's still a question. I think that's still in question, but we'll get there. We're gonna talk about it, and then we got to make a logical decision on how we're gonna handle that. So before we get there, we're just gonna go down the list. I'm gonna do kind of like what I did the last time out. I'm gonna talk about the running backs. We're going to talk about, all the important aspects of the running back game, and then we'll go to wide receivers. And then we're definitely going to talk about the quarterback situation at the very end. And then when we get to the very end, we will definitely talk about any questions or anything that you guys have. Second Wentz isn't good, but he should be okay against secondary. I mean, I'm with you. Again, with the Wentz situation, and I think some people do disagree with me, I don't think this is all Wentz's fault. I really don't. Has he had a good year? No. I firmly believe he has it. But there's been some fucking issues going on with that O-line. Am I wrong? That O-line is atrocious. Literally one of the worst O-lines in football. So I think when we talk about Wynn's situation, we'll get a better understanding for it. Yeah. But for now, let's kind of just focus on, running backs, and we'll go wide receivers, so on. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is running backs for the Eagles. We're going to go there first. Seattle was 8th in DVOA and 4th in yards per carry. They've been pretty good stopping the run. They really have been stout against it. They've caused some issues. I've seen multiple running backs get under 50 yards rushing. They're better than what people expected. But in showdown slates, we kind of like running backs who are guaranteed volume regardless of the matchup, and that person definitely is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is 9,200. In my opinion, he's the safest bet on the Eagles tonight. If we're talking about the struggles of Wentz, we're talking about the struggles of the O-line. The struggles of the O-line definitely can, hurt Sanders' game to a point. But what makes Sanders different than most running backs is that he gets a lot of work in the passing game. And with Seattle struggling the most against the pass, I think Sanders could easily get 5 to 6 targets tonight. And we're going to be seeing, 16 to 18 carries. I would not be surprised. And we're going to see him play 60% of the snaps. So, yes, the matchup isn't the greatest. I do get that. And I would understand probably fading on a smaller slate with multiple games maybe. But on a showdown slate like this, on a team that is having quarterback issues for some reason, I think Sanders is almost your best bet. When you're trying to choose what is the safest play on the Eagles. So I definitely would go Sanders with that. So I love Sanders today no matter what. Like I said, Seattle has given up, I think it's 3 times this year, less than 50 yards to running backs. But I think Sanders is a different type of species. I think, again, we're going to see 60% of the snaps. We're going to see 5 to 6 targets. We're going to see 16 to 18 carries. They're going to use Sanders as much as they can. So I love Sanders in all formats today, and I honestly think I would prefer him in cash as well. And we're going to talk about the cash situation at the end with Wentz. But I love Miles Sanders. I really wouldn't think twice about it. Yeah, the matchup sucks, but I think he definitely can get there. He's safest floor. I love Sanders today. Now, I see that someone's called Boston Scott Sproles 2.0. Dude, I agree. I love Boston Scott today, too. He is $1,000, way cheap. We're talking about a running back that's getting work in the special teams. We're talking about a running back who's getting 3 to 5 targets a game. We're talking about a running back who's getting a handful of carries. So we know that the volume is there. And at his price, he's still cheap enough that he's a perfectly fine play in all formats, in my opinion. I would try to do my best not to play him in cash, but I think if you got to the point where you had, under 1,500 or whatever you had left and Boston Scott was available, I think he's perfectly fine. I like Boston Scott today, and I do like Sanders. I think they're going to be put to work today. They have to be. They have to be. So, again, the matchup isn't the greatest for either running back. I get it. But we're talking about Miles Sanders, who is going to get plenty of work, plenty of volume, and play a heavy percentage of snaps. So I love Miles Sanders for that. I also think Boston Scott is another prime play as well, especially for his price and for the, even though it's a limited amount of volume that he's getting, he's still getting work. And at 1K, we love to see that player to do that. It seems like we're always reaching for that one player, who's really, really cheap. Oh, please at least get 2 to 3 catches or something like that. At least we know with Boston Scott that it's probably going to happen. So I'm cool with both running backs. I wouldn't think twice about it. I like both. Again, matchups aren't the greatest, but I like them. Okay. Now let's talk about Seattle's running back situation. So Chris Carson should be back today. He's been out for about 4 weeks. The Eagles are 11th in DVOA and 26th in yards per carry. So I mean, I think we all remember the Eagles' run D being one of the best in the league. I remember last year you just didn't play running backs against Philadelphia. You just didn't. But seeing that they're 11th in DVOA, they're not a pushover team when it comes to running backs, but they're definitely a team that you can run on. So with that being said, I think Chris Carson is in a prime spot to be back in this game. He is currently a road favorite. He gets plenty of work in the passing game. He's going to see 60% of the snaps. Is he going to score today? I would highly think so. I would even say maybe 2 touchdowns is not out of the realm for him. I love Chris Carson today. And I think if Seattle does take the lead and kind of just, runs with the game, I think Chris Carson could still get plenty of work. So at 8,800, I like Chris Carson too. And I mean, he's just, the volume's safe. The snap percentage is safe. The red zone carries are safe. I just like Chris Carson, and I wouldn't think twice about that either. So Chris Carson is definitely in a good spot. Definitely. Now, Carlos Hyde, I'm not really going to discuss him. He's way overpriced. He's priced as a starting running back. He's 7K. If that's what DK wants to price him at, I'm good. I'm good. The only way that I would ever pay that price is if I thought that Chris Carson might get 10% of the snaps or something crazy like that. But that's highly doubtful. Highly doubtful. Haven't heard anything on Twitter. Haven't heard anything from, Seattle, whatever it is. So I think Carlos Hyde is an automatic fade. Don't even think twice about it. Don't even do it. Fade Carlos Hyde. But okay. So what I love is Chris Carson. No problem with that. So again, running backs are pretty safe in my opinion. I almost feel like they're the safest volume on the slate, safest plays on the slate. Chris Carson, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott, in my opinion, is the best value on the slate. And I will have plenty of Boston Scott today. So that's the running back situation for both teams. Again, I really like almost all of them, to be honest. So, all right, let's get into wide receivers. We're going to talk about Seattle's wide receivers first. I feel like that would be the easiest. The Eagles are 20th in DVOA and 6th in yards allowed per pass. You can throw on the Eagles. But they're not like Dallas Cowboys bad, if that makes sense. They have some decent corners. They have Darius Slay, who's been handling business. And he should give DK Metcalf some problems today. But I don't think that they're necessarily a team that you just go, well, I can just throw on them all day. I just don't see that. But we're going to talk about the wide receivers and kind of get a better feeling for how I'm looking at it, and then you guys can make the decision on your own. So DK Metcalf, he's 11,400. He's going to see a lot of Darius Slay today. He's going to see a lot of Darius Slay, and I do understand, yes, DK Metcalf is a different species, and he can literally manhandle anyone that's thrown at him. Totally understand that, and I'm totally with you 100%. Do I think Darius Slay is going to give DK some problems today? Sure. Why not? Darius Slay is an excellent corner. He's done really well this year. His wife is so bad. Have you seen her? She's so fine. But I think Darius Slay is going to have to be put to work tonight against DK Metcalf, who is definitely like 3 feet taller than him and 17 million pounds heavier than him. DK Metcalf is like a Derrick Henry wide receiver. This is how I look at it. And so, before I start talking about how I'm going to manage the situation, let's talk about Tyler Lockett first, and then we'll kind of backtrack. So again, DK Metcalf is going to see a lot of Darius Slay. He's really expensive. He's 11,400. He has the highest upside on the slate, in my opinion, outside of Russell Wilson. So his price tag definitely makes sense. Now, Tyler Lockett has the easier matchup. He's cheaper than DK Metcalf. And I think he won't have as many issues as DK Metcalf will have today. With that being said, though, in a GPP mindset, and Tyler Lockett is going to be higher owned than DK Metcalf. So in a showdown situation, I think when you look at these wide receivers, I think the perfect way to look at it is go, okay, Tyler Lockett is going to be the higher owned, so I definitely play him in cash, and he definitely has an easier matchup. So I think Tyler Lockett in cash is definitely the way to go. He doesn't have this highest floor, I would say, but he has a decent floor for cash. But his ceiling is through the roof, and we all know that. He's had days where he puts up 45 DK points, and it just happens. Could it happen today against his secondary? Yes. Could it happen today when DK Metcalf is having issues with Darius Slay? Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are thinking the same way, and so that's why I'm seeing a lot of projected ownership for Tyler Lockett to be higher. So when I am just deciding, okay, here are these two top wide receivers who have amazing – oh, gosh, my cat. Have high ceilings. I always look at ownership projections. Where do I see the ownership coming from? And I'm looking at, I use different sites. I'm using SaberSim right now. Definitely a great optimizer if you're not using them. They're excellent. I love them. They have great ownership projections. Right now, SaberSim has DK Metcalf projected at 38%, and then they have Tyler Lockett at 41%. Oh, so, they're not a huge difference, but with that being said, and GPPs I'll probably just go way over the field on DK Metcalf. If everyone's going to Tyler Lockett and GPPs, then I'm gonna go to DK. But in cash, I would think differently. I would go Tyler Lockett. He's price efficient. He's there. He's got the upside, safe floor. That's how I would do it. So again, GPPs I'll be really heavy on DK, and then in cash, I think Tyler Lockett is the way to go with this price tag. So that's kind of how I'm looking at this top, the two top wide receivers for Seattle. Okay. Let's talk about David Moore, 4,600. According to Pete Carroll, he was questionable, considered questionable on Friday last week. It's always worrisome. But according to Pete Carroll over the weekend, he fully expects David Moore to be ready to go today. I've been looking on Twitter and looking around different places. I'm not seeing anything that says anything different. So my full expectation is that David Moore plays today. David Moore is 4,600. And again, David Moore is strictly a tournament play. And the reason for that is because he literally has no floor. He can have games where he gets nothing. But when he can hit, his ceiling can be found on 2 targets or less. So with that being said, I would lean David Moore more GPP and stay away from cash. Don't even think about David Moore in cash. He is not safe. So let's just say this, though. What if, could we get closer to game time? Obviously, I'm doing this stream a little bit early. We find out David Moore might be limited. We might find out that David Moore may just be inactive. They're just going to hold him out. They don't want to risk it for some reason, whatever. If that is the case, and then Freddie Swain literally becomes one top value play on the slate behind Boston Scott. He is $200. He's going to play a lot of snaps. He's going to be on the field a lot. And we could easily see 3 to 5 targets to him if David Moore is out or limited. Now, if David Moore plays, I probably won't touch Freddie Swain at all. Not just me. I think if you're running 150 lineups or you're running more than 20 or whatever you're doing, if you want to have a small percentage, sure, go for it. Why not? But I think for someone like me who runs a couple lineups, mostly cash lineups, I'm going to stay away from Freddie Swain unless I hear that David Moore is inactive. All right. And then we're going to end out the Philadelphia offense with Will Dissly. Poor Greg Olsen. The man himself, done, right? So now we're going to see a lot of Will Dissly. And we saw a lot of solid games from Will Dissly last year. We saw a lot of solid ceiling games. He is a solid tight end who can catch anything thrown to him. I think we'll see 3 to 5 targets, no problem, especially with Greg Olsen out. I really like Will Dissly if you need, some extra value. I like Will Dissly a lot. I think the safe bet would be 3 to 5 targets, 40 to 50 yards. I'm cool with that. And possible touchdown, would not be shocked at all. So Will Dissly is definitely in play. I think for me, though, if you're trying to think, okay, do I like him in cash or GPPs? The only way I would probably touch him in cash is if David Moore is out. But if David Moore is definitely in, like I think he's going to be in, I would say strictly to GPPs only. Just because we're not sure where his floor is right now. But he definitely has the upside to get it done. So I would say Will Dissly is strictly GPP. Cash game would be if David Moore does sit. All right. And obviously Russell Wilson, no brainer, cash lock. Don't even overthink that. I most likely would do my best to have him in all my tournament lineups. I think his upside is just tremendous. Even if Chris Carson is back, I still want plenty of Russell Wilson. I'm not going to overthink that. So that's how I'm feeling about the Eagles. Pretty straightforward. Again, I think DK Metcalf is my GPP guy. And I think Tyler Lockett is my cash guy for sure. But, how you build your lineups around those two is how you're going to win today. So, yeah. All right. Let's talk about Seattle. Let's talk about the Eagles. Now, this is where things get a little bit complicated. Got a lot to talk about. So let's do it. I'm going to save the quarterback situation to the end. We're going to talk about wide receivers now. So, all right, wide receivers. Seattle is 27th in DVOA and 32nd in yards per pass, and Seattle against the pass is bad. They're bad. They're not good. You can throw on Seattle all day long. You would think that would continue tonight, right? I mean, Carson Wentz has looked like shit, sort of. He's put up plenty of 20 DK point games. I know a lot of it has come because of game script, but I really don't care if the Eagles win. I'm not an Eagles fan. All I care about is Carson Wentz getting me the points that I need. So I'm going to try to attack Seattle with as many wide receivers as I can, knowing that people are afraid of the quarterback situation. Maybe they're going to be lower owned. And the Eagles wide receivers are fairly cheap. So yeah, it's definitely a lot to talk about. For the first wide receiver I want to talk about is Alshon Jeffrey. He's 1,600. His first game back, he played 27% of the snaps, and then his second game back, he only played 7. Do I know why? I have no idea. Is it possible that the Eagles are just done? Possible. Is it possible that maybe the Eagles don't think he's fully healthy? Possible. Is it a game script thing? Is it, a coaching move? I really don't know. Your guess is just as good as mine. But here's the thing. We know what Alshon Jeffrey can do. We know that Carson Wentz targeted him a lot when even Carson Wentz was having a good year. Last year, he had a decent year, Alshon Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey is 1,600, and he has the ceiling of a true alpha, right? Is it possible that the Eagles just go to Wentz and say, if you don't fucking play well today, you're going to lose your job, right? And I would think that Wentz would go, well, shit, Alshon Jeffrey's back. He's one of my main buddies. He was my target monster last year. I don't have Ertz, who I can lean on anymore. So maybe he just leans on Alshon Jeffrey. It's a possibility. Now, remember, this is all just theory. I don't know. I really don't know. But with that being said, and Alshon Jeffrey being at 1,600, I want to have quite a few shares in GPPs. Saber Sim currently has Alshon Jeffrey projected for, let me check. Let's see, under 5% owned. So if that's the case, I want a lot. Could it kill me? What if he plays 7% of the snaps again? Good. But what if he plays 60% of the snaps and he gets 6 to 8 targets and he is under 2K and you don't have him and you want to take down a GPP? Can you possibly do that? Probably not. So again, I like Jeffrey and GPPs. I think I'll stay away in cash just because of the unknowns, unless we find out before game time, like, hey, also Jeffrey's going to get fed today, guys, get ready. But for now, I'm going to say strictly GPP, and I feel pretty confident about him. He just got to get the snaps, but I'll definitely stay away from cash. So Alshon Jeffrey. The next wide receiver I'll talk about is Travis Fulgham, 6,800. He has back-to-back shit games. The Eagles were awful against the Giants. Awful. Wentz played awful. The Giants literally blitzed the shit out of him all game. That O-line couldn't hold up, and he was sacked multiple times. Couldn't do anything. And then he had to play against Cleveland the next game in that awful weather game. We also played like shit. So knowing that Travis Fulgham has literally emerged this year as a top wide receiver, the guy was literally having amazing games. I look at the last 2 games as a fluke. I don't think that defines him at all. Obviously, you don't either. So Travis Fulgham at 6,800. He has 7+ target upside, with 80 yards upside, in my opinion, or even more, and guarantee, a touchdown. So if he gets a 60 yards and a touchdown and 8 targets, guys, that's what we want. So I love Travis Fulgham. I think he's in play in all formats. All formats. I'll play him in cash and I'll play him in tournaments. I'll probably try to stack him up with, Wentz. I love Fulgham. All formats. Okay, the next wide receiver we're talking about is Jalen Reagor. 5,800. He's going to see a lot of Shaquille Griffin, which a lot of people like to attack Shaquille Griffin. Reagor is a fast wide receiver who can literally outburn anybody. The only issues that I have with him is his ceiling. But I think we can definitely see a ceiling game from Reagor today against this awful secondary who cannot stop deep passes. So at 5,800, I think Reagor is also in play in all formats. I think you can play him in cash. I think you can play in tournaments. I think his floor is, 5 to 6 points. But I think his ceiling could be anywhere from, 18 to 20. So I do like Reagor in all formats today. All formats. Greg Ward, that's the next wide receiver. He's fairly overpriced for the slot wide receiver that he is. The problem is that he doesn't really get red zone looks, and he's going to need a lot of volume to get to where he needs to go. In my opinion, I'll fade in cash. Most likely just fade in tournaments unless I'm playing 150 lineups. But for the most part, I'll probably just end up fading Greg Ward entirely. So wide receivers, I think Jeffrey is an excellent tournament play. Excellent. I like Fulgham in all formats, and I also like Reagor in all formats. Okay, we're almost done. Let's talk about the tight ends. Let's talk about Dallas Goedert, 6,400. Yes, he's a little overpriced. But he has the same ceiling as these wide receivers. And he has a great matchup against the Seattle defense, who is literally getting burned by tight ends as well. Before even doing the stream and, doing most of my research today, just going off my, past week research, I love Dallas Goedert. Honestly, I'll probably be a lot heavier on him than I am on any wide receiver. I just really like him today. I think his targets are safe. 6 to 8 would be my guess. Plays a lot of snaps, gets a lot of red zone looks. Dallas Goedert's the guy. So I love Dallas today. I have no problem playing him. I will have a lot. And I think he's in play in all formats. All formats, definitely. I think I would lean more GPP because of his price. But I think if you wanted to play him in cash, I wouldn't hate you for it. So, love Dallas today. Love him. Richard Rodgers is another guy that a lot of people have been talking about. He's 1,800. He's playing about 30% of the snaps. But when he's on the field, he gets fed. So with that being said, even though he's only playing a certain amount of snaps, 30% is not a lot. But we know that when he's on, he's getting targeted. So he's another value play that I have no issue with, and he can even get a couple of red zone targets. I like Richard Rodgers today quite a bit as well. So now I'm going to talk about the quarterback situation. Now, understand before I talk about this quarterback situation that to me is just all a guess, just as much as it is to you. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to work. We don't know anything. So I'm just going to kind of talk about what I think might happen, and then you can kind of make the decision on what you want to do. So Carson Wentz. So we heard this week that Jalen Hurts is getting first-team reps. I get that, right? Is it possible that the Eagles are trying to see what he can do? Yes. Are the Eagles completely out of the playoff race? No. Do I think Wentz is a bad quarterback as many people are thinking? No, not at all. Again, it is hard for a quarterback to have enough time when their own line literally collapsed within a couple seconds. Even though he's a runner, he runs a lot, which is why he has such high upside. But if you don't have time to throw the ball, what can you do? So do I firmly blame Wentz for having an off year? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the Eagles are here. We have the owner who's super upset. I read that the owner skipped his first game ever. I read that the owner has walked out of practice. The coach is super upset. The coach is pointing fingers at people. He doesn't want to lose his job. It sounds like the Eagles are kind of just like, we're fucking done of being shitty. We're just done of being bad. But I think Carson Wentz comes into this game and he handles business. He has a great matchup. I think game script's going to be in his favor. He has the weapons to do it. It's just up to that O-line to go, I'm going to give you at least 6 seconds to wait. So the only way that I firmly believe that Carson Wentz is not going to play a heavy percentage of snaps. Number one, the first drive comes out, he looks awful, throws a pick, fumbles the ball, takes a couple of sacks. Maybe the Eagles is going, all right, let's give Hurts a couple snaps. Possible. But if Wentz comes out on the field for the first drive and drives down the field and they score or they kick a field goal and he just looks great, I don't think they pull him out of that. If the Eagles are just getting smashed on, which is possible, do they just let Hurts get plenty of work? That's a possibility too. So right now, we really don't know. We don't know. All we can do is make our best decision. And if Carson Wentz is definitely the starter, then that's the guy I'm going to go after. I'm going to go after him. Now, I know for cash lineups, the staple is to get both QBs. I think the question you need to ask yourself for cash is, do you trust Carson Wentz? Do you trust him? I think for me, I'm going to try to get both QBs. I don't believe that Wentz is as bad as what the media is saying he is. So as of right now, I want Wentz in my cash lineups. In tournaments, if you're running multiple lineups, I think you could easily fade Wentz in a couple for Hurts. But be fully prepared that Hurts gets like 6 to 8 snaps and doesn't do shit. Be fully prepared for that. So I don't know. It's a really tough situation, but I'm just going to go with the safest bet, in my opinion, and that's the starter, Carson Wentz. So I think Carson Wentz is fine for cash. It is a little risky, what scares me, but I still think he's too good. But yeah, what a shitty situation. Yeah. Don't play Hurts in cash. Don't do that either. But anyways, I if that O-line can handle tonight, I think this game could be really good. I think we can see an up and down game. I think we can see plenty of scoring. The Eagles got good weapons, guys. They really do. I think this tonight is just up to that O-line. That O-line's got to figure it out. But anyways, So I made a cash pool. Again, cash for me is fairly simple. I try to get both QBs. I'll try to get the safest play on both teams. I normally look at ownership. I think ownership is the way to go for cash. So right now, my player pool for cash would be Russell, Lockett, Carson, Miles Sanders, both kickers, Wentz, Fulgham, Rieger, and I wouldn't hate you if you played Godert either. Again, I think I'm going to go Lockett over DK in cash just because he's cheaper and he's going to have higher ownership. So if he does kind of dud, I don't think it really will affect you in cash at all. Now, in tournaments, I would go Chris Carson, DK, Fulgham, Rieger, and then if you guys want to add other players, it's totally fine. For tournaments, I just, anyone's in play, in my opinion. I just try to make my captains a little bit different. And if I'm going off ownership projection based for tournaments, I see Chris Carson is projected at under 15%, and DK Metcalf is projected just about 11%. So those would be the two guys I really try to get you because no one's going to play them. But yeah, so I really like this game. I think this game is going to be good. I think we're going to see some good plays today. I think we're going to see some people overreacting with the Wentz news. But I'm fully heavy on Wentz. I think he's too good. I think they're going to let this play it out. I don't even think Jalen Hurts is that great. So, are they going to go from Wentz through a quarterback who's not great? That's just me. But again, if we hear anything before the game starts, then we might have to change our minds on what we're doing. But as for now, Wentz is my cash guy. I'll probably have plenty in tournaments. But yeah, anyways. All right, well, that's it for today. If you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter, Vigo07. I know this says Nick. I'm dumb. I put it the wrong one. But Vigo07, or you can hit me up at, or you can hit up DFS headquarters. So you have a question for Frank. I'm always there for you. If not, we are also having a huge sale today to get into DFS headquarters. I'm making a lot of money in college basketball, college football, Euro golf, whatever you guys want to fucking play and make money. We're there making money. So again, if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. Other than that, good luck tonight. Make sure you pay attention to the news and let's make this money.